Now to that stunning outcome in the Jodi Arias trial. The jury deadlocked over her fate, whether she should live or die. And does this mean that the defense's strategy somehow worked during the trial? ABC's Ryan Owens has the latest from Phoenix, Arizona, where he's been covering it all along. Good morning to you, Ryan.
Good morning again, Elizabeth. While some may consider this mistrial a legal win for Jodi Arias, it's a bit of a hollow one. After all, now she, and most especially her victim's family, will have to relive this legal mess one more time.
No unanimous agreement.
No agreement means a hung jury, a mistrial, and then a retrial for Jodi Arias. She looks stunned, her prosecutor devastated, her victim's family inconsolable.
Will be ordered setting a retrial on the penalty phase for July 18th.
So how did the convicted murderer who admits she shot and repeatedly stabbed her ex-boyfriend Travis Alexander avoid death, at least for now? Was it her 18 days of testimony? Most observers thought she spent so much time talking about herself, the jury couldn't stand her. But then again, perhaps it's tougher to kill someone you've gotten to know.
To this day, I can hardly believe I was capable of such violence.
Maybe it was her final speech to the jury earlier this week. She was just a few feet from them, looking them right in the eyes and begging for mercy.
I thought I'd rather die. But as I stand here now, I can't in good conscience ask you to sentence me to death because of them.
Perhaps it was her attorney putting her hands on Arias' shoulder and asking the mostly older, mostly male jurors if they wanted to end the life of a 32-year-old woman.
The simple question that's before you is, do you kill her?
In our jailhouse interview before the jurors deadlocked, Arias didn't exactly have nice things to say about the people deciding her fate.
What do you think of this jury? It's pretty clear they don't think too much of you. I wonder what you think of them.
I don't know. I feel a little betrayed by them.
Jodi Arias probably doesn't feel quite so betrayed by this same jury this time around. Interestingly, most expect she will have different attorneys for the retrial. Remember, these two tried to quit on her several times already, and most expect this will be a very good time for them to exit stage left. Josh.
As Ryan also mentioned earlier, a retrial set for July, but almost certainly to be postponed. We want to turn now to our legal team, legal analyst Dan Abrams, and in Atlanta, Nancy Grace, host of Nancy Grace on HLN. And Dan, again, this is something that you discussed at length yesterday. Surprised by what we saw yesterday?
And not surprised after we heard that they were having trouble at the outset, because they'd already discussed the case at length there. I think now the question is, what does Juan Martinez, the prosecutor, do? You have a divide on this jury, according to the Arizona Republic and others, of 8-4, meaning there were 4 people who were holding out for life. Not 1, not 2. That says to me that it is time for Juan Martinez to try to cut a deal here for life without parole. On the one hand, it ends this, and on the other hand, it ensures that Jodi Arias would not get the opportunity for parole.
And it would then suggest something of a defense victory. I wonder, Nancy, what do you think about Dan's plan?
I don't see Martinez rolling over on this. And if anyone had carefully watched the evidence, which really dates back to last year in December when the jury began voir dire or jury selection, you know, it was such grisly evidence, gruesome. He was slaughtered like a pig out in the slaughterhouse and left to decompose in his own shower. I don't see Martinez taking a life on that. There's only one way I think Martinez would back off, and that is if Travis Alexander's own family says, we can't live through it again. I can't leave my jobs for 6 months. I can't leave my children for 6 months to be here every day. I can't look at Travis dead in the shower for 1 more minute. And I think that's the only way that he'll back down.
And I think Nancy's right, that the family is going to have enormous input in here, but I would say that Juan Martinez should take the lead and explain to the family the process and how much more time it's going to take, and talk about the possibility that if they don't get a conviction, remember, if in the next time there's another hung jury, the judge then gets to decide, is it life without parole or life with the possibility of parole. And my point is, by trying to cut some sort of deal now, you're also taking parole off the table. And I think it is time to end this case. It is time to end this trial. It is not worth having a new trial on the penalty phase.
That's what you think, Dan. But since you or neither of us are a party to this, what we think is really irrelevant. All that matters is what the state thinks, since they are responsible for carrying the burden, and what Travis Alexander's family thinks. And that is a moral obligation. That's not under the law. This is up to Martinez to decide what he thinks is right or wrong.
Yep, no question about it. And people have to remember, this is the state of Arizona making this decision. And as a result, it is in Juan Martinez's hands.
Let me ask you then, a change of venue as this trial, as this has now really come to dominate headlines, especially in that state, might we see a change of venue?
You know, look, I think the notion that sort of one county over or a few counties over, you're going to find so many more jurors. This is the sort of case that was national. I think they will be able to find a jury. I remember in the O.J. Simpson civil case, remember the case had just happened in Los Angeles, then in Santa Monica. They have a new case with a civil trial. They were able to find jurors who hadn't followed the case very closely. Did they have people who knew about Mark Furman and the glove and the basics? Yes, but they hadn't followed the case particularly closely. I think you'll find the same thing here.
Nancy, what do you think? Change of venue or does it stay?
I think that, number one, the defense attorneys have already announced they're going to stay on the case, which is a surprise to me, because Nurmi, if you look at the body language, he was nearly falling off the table trying to get away from Jodi Arias at the end. And we saw Wilmot step in and make the final closing statement. But they say they're going to stay on. Change of venue, probably. They'll probably try for it. But be careful what you ask. You may surely get it. They may get an even more conservative jury pool somewhere else.
Nancy Grace, we appreciate your time this Friday. Dan as well.